The Tellem were the people who inhabited the Bandiagara Escarpment in Mali. It is thought by some in Mali today that the Tellem possess the power of flight. They are described as Hobbit-like creatures that build dwellings around the base of the escarpment as well as directly into the cliff face, just like the Hobbits. Many of these structures are still visible in the area. Abarimon are a legendary race of people from a country with the same name, where they live side by side with animals. They have backwards feet and in spite of that are able to run at great speeds. The exact location of the country is in the Great Valley of Mount Imaus, now known as the Himalayan mountains. The air was said to be unique, and if breathed for a long time, it would make it impossible to breathe any other type of air, so leaving the valley was impossible. The Ainu are an indigenous ethnic group of people who live in Hokkaido in Japan, as well as in Russia, the Kuril Islands and Sakhalin. In the 19th century, Japanese people called the northern island of Hokkaido Ezochi, which means land of the Ainu. The term Ainu generally referred to the fair-skinned, long-haired hunter-gatherer fishermen people with animistic beliefs who had lived there for hundreds of years. Ainu culture was very different from the Japanese. The men had full beards and mustaches, as after a certain age they would never shave. The Ainu women tattooed their mouths at a young age with a spot on the upper lip that would gradually increase with size. In mythology, the Amazons were daughters of Ares, the god of war. They were a women-only society where men were welcomed only for breeding purposes. The Amazons were warlike women noted for their courage and pride, who lived at the outer limits of the known world, sometimes specifically mentioned as the city of Themyscira, near the Black Sea. Their queen was Hippolyta. In legend, the Amazons burnt off their right breast in order to better use a bow and throw a spear. Indeed, the word Amazon may signify breastless, but most likely they were from Scythia, a region sufficiently distant to an ancient Greek to symbolize a frightening, exotic, and unknowable land. These Scythian women clearly deviated in part from some of the mythical attributes of these Amazons. They did not, for example, live in all-female communities or remove their breasts to better shoot an arrow. Pygmies were an actual African people described in ancient Roman histories who threatened Roman Egypt a few times in the 3rd century AD. The name possibly derives from Balami, meaning desert people, in the Beja language of Africa. Along the way, the Pygmies became fictionalized as a tribe of headless humanoids whose faces are located on their torsos. Furthermore, they are often reported to be cannibals. More concretely, some propose that the historical Pygmies had an unusual fighting stance that involved tucking the head close to the chest, or else they had the ability to raise their shoulders to an extraordinary height, nesting their head in between.